Welcome back to Girl at the Con. Thank you so much for staying with me during that short little break. I should be back to making videos regularly now. I'm not sure if you can see right there. That's what's left of my black eye. I fell down and was not presentable for a while, so I couldn't make any videos. But I am back now. Today we're going to talk about the convention I just came back from, Anime Impulse. Pomona? Question mark? I understand that there are two Anime Impulses. One that is the one I went to, and then another one that's more in LA and less in Pomona. I don't know what the difference between the two is. I just know that I went to one. Here is the badge I got from that. You can see that. And then I got this really cool thing from Toyota. They animate you. You know what I mean. So they animate you. You basically filled out a thing, and then they took a picture of you and turned you into a little anime person to promote this anime that they have. It's, I guess, in season 3 that pimps their cars out for them. So those were the one thing I'm going to start off by saying is I love going to conventions. I hate getting up at 5 in the morning to go to conventions. This was a one-day trip, so my friends and I basically just got up super duper early. My friend Rich picked us up. And I went up with Rich, my cousin Lucy, Ellie, who you may have seen me talk about before, and her friend Alan? Oh man, I keep forgetting his name. I'll put his name right here if I remember what his name is. Or after I ask Ellie what his name is. So after we picked up everybody, we hit Starbucks, which is our thing to do so that we can get something to drink and to eat and caffeine so that I am not super duper grumpy at people. And we headed on up. It was a cool 2 hours just, driving up the freeway. So what made the ride really interesting was all the fog banks that we kept going through. We were going out on the east, and so as we drove up, we were going into these valleys and canyons and just driving into this incredibly dense fog, which just made it really interesting. It's one of those neat things that happens every once in a while, sort of like taking the bus somewhere, driving somewhere, and going through a patch of snow flurries or something. But it was really neat. Anyway, we were going up there early, and we got up early, which allowed us to stop and get second breakfast at Jack in the Box and to go to the bathroom at Jack in the Box before we headed out to the convention and found ourselves parking. Typical parking. It was at a fairgrounds, or a fairplex as they called it. So the parking was just a big open parking lot. And we did the typical sort of big open parking lot thing, which is, okay, everybody remember where we parked, and then headed on inside. So it went pretty well, easy. We had these barcodes that were pretty easy for us to just scan and go on in with, and then we got our little badge. I was kind of disappointed that, we got the badge, but we didn't get a lanyard. So the lanyard I have here is from the Toyota anime, and it came with a little case that my anime me person is in. which makes for a really nice, like, full-on thing. I just really wish that they had done lanyards. I was also really disappointed that I had seen before the convention they had a couple of interesting uh, merch items for sale, and I was like, "Oh, cool! I'm gonna try and grab that at the convention." And it turned out they weren't selling merch at the convention, which I thought was really like weird. Like, who doesn't sell merch at their convention? um, so unfortunately, I wasn't able to get any merch except for, the stuff that they gave me, which I thought was really sad. But we had a great time. So, Anime Impulse, this one is made up of four or three different events. One is like a collector's convention, and one is the anime convention, and then one is the Asian American Expo. And before we went up, I was told, "Oh, you're gonna get so much free stuff at this convention." And I was super excited about that because I was like, "Oh, it's been a while since I've been to a convention where I got a bunch of stuff." I mean, I get a bunch of stuff at CatCon, but like an anime convention or something, you typically don't get a lot of stuff. You typically get, maybe a couple of things, but you mostly are getting flyers for stuff. But this was a little bit different. So Ellie was leading the way because she had been there before, and we got out to the far end, which is where the Asian American Expo is, and we started going up and down aisles. And we went to um, Ranch 99, which, if you don't live in a place with Ranch 99, it's basically an Asian grocery store. I love Ranch 99. They've got some really cool stuff. Um, but it's got a lot of like Asian foods and a lot of import Asian foods and stuff like that. We had to download their app, and then if we then rated the app, we got to spin a wheel. So if we just downloaded the app, we got a tote bag, which is super cute because the snake on it's the year of the snake, and the snake is just, oh, it's so adorable. I was not giving away that tote bag for love or money. It was too cute. And then if we rated it, we got to spin. And I think every single one of us got the exact same thing, which is a bag of milk tea mochi, which was pretty good. It was pretty decent. It wasn't like the greatest. I still think I'd rather prefer fruit mochi over this like white milk tea stuff. But it wasn't too bad. Then we went kind of inside to one of the hangars. And they're all hangars. If you don't know what a hangar is, look it up. It's basically just like a concaved building used for storing planes, which I'm sure during World War II is when all of this was built and stored planes. We went to a couple of places that were handing out food, or a lot of places, you kind of had to like download their app or do something like that for them, and then they would let you spin a wheel or they would just give you something. I got a bunch of like collagen under eye mask things. Uh, I got some ramen. It wasn't exactly ramen. It's like you make it like regular like store brand dry ramen, but you then pour out all the water and it's supposed to be like a stir fry. I actually gave that away to Rich cuz I was just like I wasn't interested. So yeah, we did that. There was one place that we spent like $3 and we got a little bento box that had some shumai and some gyoza in it. And for spending $3 to get this little bento box, we also got a steamer, which I was all over. I was just like, for some reason, I just really wasn't feeling well that day. Like, every time somebody presented me with food all day long, I was like, "Bleh, no, anything but food." Um, so if it was something storable, it went into one of my tote bags. If it wasn't, it got handed off to somebody else. I was like, "Oh, you hungry? Great. Here, have my box." But I really wanted this steamer. I was like, "Yay. Can always use a steamer in my house, especially microwave safe steamers." And yeah, we stopped and they had a big stage in the center of one of the hangars where they were doing dragon dances and stuff like that. So we stopped and we got video of that. The aisles in the Asian American Expo were just packed, packed. Everybody was there. Um, every little Asian grandma and auntie and grandpa, they were all there, going up and down these aisles, getting all the free makeup. We did spin to get we had to download an app and we spun to get like a possible facial. So my cousin got a 15-minute facial, and Ellie, I think, had a skin tag removed. And I don't think the boys participated in that. They went off to find dumplings because that was their goal at that point, was to find dumplings. I won another collagen eye mask, so I was like, whatever. I really wanted either the skin tag removal or the facial, but I was okay either way. So yeah, we just kind of wandered around for a bit until I got to the point where I was like, I am going to pass out like dead if I don't get like liquid soon. So we found a place in shade, uh, camped out there for a little bit. And by this point, we're also getting close to when my friend Jimmy was supposed to be doing his show. So we hung out there, we got some water. Somehow, Rich managed to find somebody selling water and soda bottles for $2. And so I got some water. It was great. Honestly, there's nothing better than feeling like you're dehydrated and getting that glass or that bottle of water, like when you all you want is water. It's the best tasting water ever. Doesn't matter which brand, it doesn't matter anything. Like it's the best water. We saw a lot of cosplay. A lot of cosplay. I didn't see anything where they had like a cosplay contest or anything. I also didn't see anything where they had any panels or anything like that, but I'm sure that they did. I just didn't see anything like that. I don't also remember getting like a program guide. It really did seem more, I'm going to say more like an expo. And when I mean expo, expos are really just you have a couple of like display type stuff, like you'll have a stage where stuff will go on, but it's a lot of like vendors selling stuff. And this is kind of what it felt like. Going up and down the aisles, I mean, it didn't do much for me because I wasn't there to spend any money and I wasn't going to spend any money. I think I spent the most expensive thing I bought was for my cousin, and I bought her a Ida bag. Uh uh Hazut Miku. I'm just gonna call her Miku. A Miku bag where it's like a cat Miku and her mouth is open, and that's where the plastic is where you can put the pins. So I really wasn't there to spend a lot of money, so I wasn't looking at stuff really. I was just like, oh yeah, this is the typical anime vendor stuff, unless we were in one of the other areas. And even then, I was just like, yep, this is collector stuff. this stuff is going to be insanely priced, and I just don't have the desire to buy anything here. We did find one place that was selling shirts, and so I was able to get a couple of shirts, but they didn't really have any anime shirts. They were just a collection of shirts. So I got a Dolly Parton shirt, I got a Sonic the Hedgehog shirt, which will be my anime shirt until I get an anime shirt, and then I got this, like, purple and blue, like, jack-o'-lantern-esque shirt, uh, that I found it and I was like, "Yes," and I found the Dolly Parton shirt and was just like, "Take my money." So, uh, those were those were the things that I got other than I think I spent, like $2 for water. So, we went to my friend Jimmy's show, and he is a drag queen, and he does a lot of drag stuff. He also I'm gonna quick plug, not that I'm getting paid for this, and this is by no means sponsored, but he does like party events. So he'll dress up as Bluey and show up in an event. And or he'll be Prince Eric to somebody else's Ariel or whatever. So he does stuff like that. So it's not just drag, but he does some really interesting anime drag. And so he puts on this show, and I every convention that he does this at, for whatever reason, I can never make it. So I was very excited because I was like, we are going to this come hell or high water. If we only go up just so that I can do this, this is what we're doing. And it was great. So I recorded the entire thing, and at some point I will have to edit it down so I can put it up, which ought to be interesting because of some of the music in there. But we went to that and watched Jimmy and his friends perform. It was absolutely amazing. It was so much fun. Uh, just the worst thing I can say about it is it was outside with no shade. It was so much fun. Right before Jimmy's show, they had a DJ that was up there um going, going to town spinning. I felt sorry for him because it was very hot, which is hilarious because it had rained the day before and it should not have been as hot as it was, but it was very, very hot. Unless you stepped into the shade and then it just got very cold very quickly. But he's out there and there's like one or two people dancing and nobody's paying attention to him. And it's just kind of like, when's the next thing? I don't know why they didn't do some sort of overhang or something. I'm I'm not used to expos like this. So part of me is like, why didn't you just put it inside? Why didn't you like rent an overhang or something? Um, Especially since they're having this in February, which is, Southern California, it's kind of our rainy season. It's not a guarantee that we're going to have rain. It's not like, you know, winter rolls around and it just rains for 3 months. It's nothing like that. But it's much more likely to rain in February than it is any other time of the year. So I kind of don't know why they didn't like why they had their stage outside. Um, but it is what it is. So I did feel sorry for the guy, but it was fun hanging out, waiting for Jimmy to go on and listening to this guy, and because you got to see a lot of the cosplayers, and there were so many cosplayers and so good. Uh, some were definitely in costumes that are store-bought, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with going on eBay or Amazon and typing in, you know, whatever and buying the costume, especially if you don't have skills to sew. Or if it's like your first thing. But I do recommend for everybody to learn how to sew and make your own costumes. That way you can make it yours. You can look at that guy that wears the trench coat and you can be like, "Well, what if the trench coat looks like this? Or what if I, add these little details or whatnot?" And that's kind of why I like people to make their own stuff, is because then they can make it theirs. But that's neither here nor there. Anyway, a lot of beautiful costumes. I super love the girl who was in the goth IHOP stuff. There was a Miku that I just was I was impressed by it because I just didn't know what it was, and there are so many Miku variants out there that I was like, I'm sure it is a Miku I have not ever seen before. I didn't stress it, and it turned out it's sort of her own creation. She had done two characters, so I will put them up on screen so that you can see, because I don't know anything about one of them, and I only know the vaguest amount about Miku. If she hadn't been around for so long and it wasn't such like a big staple of anime, I wouldn't know anything about her, but she is she's out there. Lots of costumes. On the subject of costumes, woo. So my cousin Lucy, she bought her costume from Amazon. She's getting into doing conventions and to going out there and meeting people. She had so much fun, and like she actually started to like go up to people and talk to them and was willing to ask them questions, and she found a group of people that were all cosplaying from the same anime she was. So I got a picture of her with them. Great to see her just kind of open up and just be like, "Oh my god." You know, as my friend Rich told Lucy, going to a convention where you're with people who are into the same things you are, it can turn you on. And not in a sexual way, but like in a stimulation way. It just stimulates you. You're like, oh my God, there are other people who are just like me. There are other people who wear haunted mansion stuff. There are other people who I can talk to about this obscure anime that maybe me and only three other people know. I have started to see resurgence of perfect blue costumes. And that's, I mean, not my favorite anime, but God, it is such a good anime. It is not an anime for kids by any means. And I certainly like would not hand it to like a 13-year-old and be like, "You're gonna love this shit." No, but it is a really good anime, and it's one of my favorites. Not my favorite, but I enjoy it. And I love seeing people who dress up from it because it is kind of an obscure anime. It's sort of like Grave of the Fireflies. If I saw somebody dressed up at Grave of the Fireflies, I'd be shocked because that is the saddest anime ever. Oh God. Ugh. Anyway, but I'd be excited because it's somebody else who knows that obscure anime that I do. And I want people to kind of do that. So I love conventions, and I love that my cousin is getting into conventions and meeting people who are into the same things that she is. And so that makes me really happy. I hope people that watch this video and my other videos, find the same sort of enjoyment out of them. Look at them and say, "Oh my God, I love that stuff. I should go to conventions, or I should make my own videos on conventions or something like that." I would love that. After everything, we did split off at one point, and Ellie and her friend went off somewhere, and Rich and my cousin and we kind of hung out for a little bit. We did some wandering around, final shopping, stuff like that, before we decided to leave. And we left relatively early. I always recommend leaving a convention about half an hour to an hour before the convention's over. This way you're beating all of the traffic. It's just a recommendation. If you're one of those people where traffic stresses you out, then yeah, you're going to want to leave early, because otherwise the traffic is just going to stress you out, because you and 50,000 people, 20, 30, whatever, they're all going to be leaving at the same time. And it can just be, ooh, that can be a lot of traffic. So we left fairly early and headed off to get dinner. We decided on eating at a Golden Corral, which was also fun because my cousin had never been to a Golden Corral or to a buffet, at least not that she remembered. That was a lot of fun, kind of explaining how it worked to her and just being like, well, you basically go around, fill your plate up, and go back to the table and eat. And then once you've emptied your plate, you do it again if you want to, and you just keep doing it. And that was a lot of fun for me. I haven't eaten at a Golden Corral in a while, and I was just like, woohoo, this is, I kind of love buffets because I can just get a little bit of everything. Not everything. Obviously there's some foods that I just, and there were a couple of things that as we're going through, I was like, well, that doesn't look right, does it? Uh, but it was good and it was fun. So we did that and then piled back into the car and headed home. It was a blast. It was a really, really good time. Highly recommend to anybody who is just loves to get stuff. For the cost, honestly, for the cost, they could raise the cost by easily 10 or more dollars and it would still be worth it. It is a steal. With I bought our tickets online. With doing that and the inevitable fees that come with buying your tickets, it was like $25 a person. That's it. And it's a 2-day? Yeah, it was just a 2-day thing, but like there's so much to see. Like we easily could have done more. We only did 1-day tickets. That's why our tickets were 25, but I think like the 2-day ticket wasn't too much more than that. Maybe 40? Maybe less. It was something where it was like, "Oh, that's cheap for 2 days." Like, but the Asian American Expo had the most like giveaway free stuff. The anime stuff and the collectors, not so much. But easily you could spend just a day in the Asian American Expo going up and down the aisles getting free stuff. And we got a lot of free stuff. So that was, we had bags. At like noon, we sent our bags back to the car and kept going. Or at least I sent my bags back to the car. But everybody else took their bags back to the car. We ended up, some places had things where you could buy this and get, all of this for free or whatever. It just, for $25, it was a steal, an absolute steal. I don't know how they do it. They must get the venue for cheap. They must get, well, they definitely have a ton of people there. I mean, just the Asian American Expo was packed. The anime section was packed. The collector section was packed. Everything was packed. So I would imagine that they just have a lot of people come in. And then I'm sure that they sell tables and stuff too. So, and they have a lot of sponsorships like Toyota and this other company that was doing like a scavenger hunt. So I am sure with all of that, they make bank. But it just blows my mind how cheap it was. It was really excellent convention. 9 out of 10. Would at Yeah, 9 out of 10. I could give it a 10 if they had souvenirs for sale. And when I asked them about it, they said, "Yeah, we normally have souvenirs, but this year we're not doing it. It's all online." And I was like, "Oh, well, you lost me on that because there was only one thing I wanted. It was like this little keychain type thing, and I wasn't going to pay, whatever, and then pay another $10 on top of that to ship it. No, just not how I work. But that was the worst thing about it. It was a lot of fun. I had a good time. I enjoyed the people I went up with and would probably do it again next year. Would recommend to anybody who's in San Diego. Everything will be all the links to the people I met and got information from. All of the Anime Impulses info will be in the doobly-doo at the bottom. And yeah, just I look forward to seeing you there next year and seeing you at WonderCon, which will be my next stop. Have a great day. Don't work too hard.
基本都是我，然后就他们就说，哎呀，就一直那些副厂呀在讲，我也来问这边的，因为我们在这里。